This is Wycombe Sound.
Hello everybody, you're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM at Wycombe Sound. I am your host Dane Cobain. This is the weekly show where we talk about the local arts news. We have a different guest on each week. We share some local and unsigned / indie music. We head over to the Rhylight Zone each week for a short story and or some poetry. And we also head over to Twangling Jack Ford in the Oak Shed later on in the show for a weekly album review. As always, you can find us on Facebook if you search for The Art Show on Wycombe Sound. You can also email me here at the studio on dane.cobain@wycombesound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wycombesound.org.uk. And I particularly want to hear from local musicians, poets, performers, anybody doing creative stuff. Let me know, especially if you would like to be a guest or if you have MP3s to share. One final note, we are repeated Monday nights on Wycombe Sound. You can also listen to us on the Listen Again on the Wycombe Sound website, or you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. So this week we're going to be chatting to Soobie Whitfield, who she runs Roundabout Creative Theatre at Wycombe Arts Centre, and she's also instrumental behind the Hybrid Festival, which is currently taking place. So look forward to that. But in the meantime, we are going to head over to the Rhylight Zone for some poetry by myself, Dane Cobain, and this is some poetry I wrote in memory of Lionel Macaulay, who was a friend of the Arts Centre. He performed here quite often, but he was a US native, and so obviously spent a lot of time in America. He sadly passed away last year. We actually did a memorial show at the time. And we're having Maca Nights at Wycombe Arts Centre as part of Hybrid Festival. And I'm going to be one of the performers there reading some poetry, so I wanted to write something specifically for Lionel. So these are the poems that I came up with.
3 poems for Lionel M. Macaulay. Technicolor Echoes. He barely knew me, maybe not at all, and I didn't know him the way I should have. Met a few times under hazy lights at Wycombe Arts Centre. He retweeted us like there was no tomorrow. I was looking forward to seeing him again. I have this theory of colour. It's not about race and reflects vitality. There are colourful people turning heads when they walk into rooms. I collect them like butterflies, but without the cruelty. Lionel, you lit up the room when you were in it. Your words had power and still have it. Your name conjures the face which conjures the magic. You were a brother in arms, fighting the good fight for a better world, a world you believed in but will never see, and I wonder what you would have made of life after COVID. Something beautiful, no doubt, an opportunity to reshape society into something better. And now I know we owe it to you to make that happen. When I think of you, I don't see sadness, just love and compassion and understanding. They say a man isn't gone until the echoes he left fade away, and so you haven't gone nowhere, you've gone somewhere. The echoes have colour, a legacy of synesthesia. The echoes are strong and getting stronger. Month of June. As of June 30th, 2021, a total of 440 civilians shot and killed by police, 74 of them being black, of course. The rate of fatal police shootings is much higher amongst black Americans than any other ethnicity, standing at 36 fatal shootings per million of the population. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Atlantic, football players are lambasted for taking knees and get attacked by trolls on Twitter for the colour of their skin. You'd think it gets better, but sometimes it doesn't. Now it's the month of July, and bigotry and divisiveness, you know they're still buzzwords, used to sell clicks and win elections. Priti Patel cries gesture politics, then pretends to condemn the racists. There's nothing right and nothing honourable under her regime. They tried to tame us, all of us. They tried to dock our claws and tyres to the rail tracks, distract us with cats and fat stacks of cash. They tried to catch us like a cold, tried to tie us down in search of a mortgage, 4 kids and a marriage no one wanted. I've been reading about our language, built on immigration and unfortunate colonialism. We stole more words than come from Anglo-Saxon, but that's okay, I'm Danish anyway. You're too worried about Joseph Mallard William Turner and his Fighting Temeraire. Not that my pockets aren't empty, I was never not in double negatives. They stole our children and taught them to fight the French for freedom. Bon voyage, mes amis, c'était une bonne journée, mais il y avait la guerre et nous étions désespérés. We're living in the United Kingdom of irony, the United States of whatever. I'ma do what I can if you promise you'll do the same. It's not easy being free. You could say it never has been. They killed the Queen with a knee to the neck. No justice, no peace, no nothing. We change lives one step at a time. A middle finger up to history. This is step 1. Big Popper. The cat's got my tongue again. He loves it when I call him Big Popper. Proper noun's notorious when he dreams of dreamies and his flippity fish. He came in with 2 friends, both imaginary. I don't think he's lonely, but he is alone, just like he likes it. Kurt Cobain flow when I got you in utero. You see, Cobain is my last name and it wasn't my first one. It might not even be the last. More incesticide than incesticide. You'll only get it if you listen to the album. The D in my name stands for dandy, desperate Dane living dangerous, deeply allergic to debts, death and dust mites, deeply in love with the feeling of loving. I'm no ignoramus, my name is Dane and I'll say it again. My name is Dane and I didn't change it. I don't change anything except when I'm changing my guitar strings. I string together words and chords until I'm singing songs that people don't listen to. But then it's busy and the lights are down low and people are drinking just like I used to. I was never a politician, a publican or Republican, just a scatterbrain mess shaping something out of nothing, just doing my best like we all are. My moods go up and down just like everyone's. My inner monologue exceeds 150 words per minute, which makes it faster than I can type. I'm just throwing darts at a board in the hope I can make a 180. If there's one thing I've learned, it's not to shoot the messenger. Better be a better man now and not tomorrow. Tomorrow might not come, at least not for all of us. Those cliche mongers who say you only live once have got a point. I just don't know what the point is.
Alright, that was myself, Dane Cobain, with some poems in memory of Lionel M. Macaulay. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM at Wycombe Sound. And we're going to have a little bit of music. So this is 7 Stars by Esther Hayes, which we actually played in last week's show, but we're going to play it again because it's a great tune.
7 stars lost their light. A burning sun knocked them out with all its blinding, raging might. It smashed them apart like a child with a hammer. Unconscious of the damage inflicting, unaware of the impact of careless actions, careless actions. The stars had to learn the sun wasn't only to blame. The stars had to learn not to let the sun play this game. 7 stars lost their light, and with them left the night sky blank. Silly stars should have known, should have seen it coming a mile from home. There's nothing new here, trouble always follows the sun and all it's becoming, becoming, becoming. The stars had to learn the sun wasn't only to blame. The stars had to learn not to let the sun play this game. You played a game, always leaving me burned. I'm the one to blame for you, I always yearn. I screamed foul play, you smiled and walked away. For you, these things never mattered to you. Matters of the heart and nothing but clutter. 7 stars lost their light. Why did they never falter? Why did they never falter? With undivided dedication, unaltered, they hope for the sun to have changed, for this situation to have grown. stars had to learn the sun wasn't only to blame. The stars had to learn not to let the sun play this game. The stars had to learn the sun wasn't only to blame. The stars had to learn not to let the sun play this game. You played a game, always leaving me burned. I'm the one to blame. Oh, you played a game, always leaving me burned. I'm the one to blame. For you, I always yearn.
To school, but I worked my father's land. I'd never been 10 miles from our home. But after 15 summers I could ride and I could shoot, and I ventured to the county fair alone. The sergeant in the army tent had shillings on his drum, and his stories and the ale called to me. Before I knew it, I'd received my shilling and a gun, off to fight the French for my king and country. And it wasn't just the foe who saw us coming, as we marched in line with rifles in our hands, and slaughtered boys who looked like us but spoke another tongue, to decide which rich man got to rule the land. Rule the land. 2 centuries on, it's still the same. Everything's different, but nothing's changed. I wasn't good at school, and I couldn't find a job that required all the skills I'd learned at home. A life of watching movies, playing Xbox, flying drones doesn't fit you for a standard office clone. But I'd seen all the recruitment advertising, let us make you into all that you can be. And before I knew it, I'd received a buzz cut and a gun, and the rest is military history. History. We'd make friends to last a lifetime. They never said how long that life would be. And those of us who made it back were not the boys who left our homes to answer to the call of our duty. They promised we'd come back covered in glory, we'd be heroes and our country would be proud. But who has work for men who've seen too much and can't forget the things they've done and blood spill on that foreign ground? And it wasn't just the foe who saw us coming, as we stood there with our papers in our hands. It wasn't in the desert or the field or in the trench, but on the home front where we took our final stand. It wasn't just the foe who saw us coming, as we stood there with our papers in our hands. It wasn't in the desert or the field or in the trench, but on the home front where we took our final stand. The final stand. The land, who makes the choice, who makes the profit, who pays the price.
That was Call of Duty by Simon Gregory. Before that, we had 7 Stars by Esther Hayes. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and I'm here in conversation with this week's guest, which is Soobie Whitfield, who runs Roundabout Creative Theatre at Wycombe Arts Centre, and she's also been kind of one of the instrumental people behind Hybrid Festival, which is currently taking place there.
The first question is one that I ask everybody, which is, what was the last book that you read, and what did you think of it?
Okay, so the last book I read was called The Mermaid of Black Conch, which is by an author called Monique Roffrey. And it's a sort of magical realism style, I guess you would say. And it's a loose, very loose retelling, really, of the Little Mermaid story. Yeah. I found it absolutely fascinating. It was suggested by someone in my book club, actually, so that's why we read it. And it happens to have a lot of crossovers with Oriente Plus, which is something that Signdance Collective are currently working on, partly because it's set in the Caribbean. It's got a mermaid in it, and it's also got as in when the mermaid is caught by fishermen in this story, she is trying to find her voice, which she has lost from centuries of not using it. And the person who helps her find her voice is a little deaf boy. And he starts to speak to her through sign language, and she learns sign language. So it was very interesting. The other thing I loved about the book was that it's written in lots of different voices, most of which are prose, but whenever the mermaid speaks, it's poetry.
Nice, cool.
Which I just thought was a really interesting style, yeah. So.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. And we'll chat about Oriente Plus in a bit as well. But I was going to say, did you see Legs at Wycombe Arts Centre as well?
Yes, yeah, I know the performer who performed Legs.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so she was at Central School of Speech and Drama at the same time as me, and we worked on an eco project together. So, yes, that was interesting because, again, that whole theme of body image and but also based around a retelling of The Little Mermaid. Yeah,
and I would say, because that was quite a loose retelling as well, so it sort of sounds like because those are the kinds of retellings I like as well, I think, because I think if you stick too close to the original story, you can't really add your own voice or your own perspective. So as you say, Legs had a lot about body image, and I love the sound of this one with the sign language as well, which it sounds really, really fascinating. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, no, cool. It is very interesting book.
Cool. And sign language is also something I'm going to chat to you about a little bit as well later on. But before we get to that, I'd like to have a quick chat about Roundabout Creative Theatre, which is something you run with Alison Rogers, right? Could you tell us how that came about and what experience you and Alison brought to the table for that?
Sure. So it came about through some conversations last year between myself and Ruth Gunstone, who's the director at the Wycombe Arts Centre. And she was mentioning that there used to be a very popular, successful theatre group that was meeting at the Wycombe Arts Centre. But unfortunately, the directors had moved on, and therefore the group is sort of closed. And so we were chatting because at the time I was just completing my master's at Central School of Speech and Drama, and I was saying I was very interested in community theatre. And so that's really how it began to evolve. And Alison and I launched Roundabout Creative Theatre during lockdown. So we actually started on Zoom. But yes, that's how it sort of came about, really, as an opportunity for people to do something creative during a time where everyone was kind of feeling quite isolated. So a way of bringing people together, local people together. And we're very keen that it is a very local group. So it's really for people who either work, study, or live in Wycombe. So it has a real neighbourhood sort of feeling to it.
Yeah, for sure. And so I wanted to ask you as well about the master plan, which you did an open performance of at Wycombe Arts Centre. And obviously a lot of that evolved out of these sort of workshops through Zoom. And again, it's very reflective of, the time it was in, but also Wycombe as an area. So how do you think the open rehearsal went? And, what was/is the master plan?
Yeah, so the master plan originated in response to the stimulus of a article in the Bucks Free Press about the scooters, the electric scooters that everyone's seen whizzing around on. And that was the sort of stimulus. And we kind of from there created this idea of, okay, so why have these scooters suddenly appeared, and is there anything else about them, and what could happen? And just out of some improvisation, really, they came out this idea of a master plan, and all sorts of other things at the time got thrown in, like lateral flow tests and other sorts of things like that. So that's how it's kind of evolved. The actual open rehearsal happened. Originally, it was going to be a promenade performance. That was our plan, that we were going to get the audience involved in walking around a crime scene. And they would try and solve the crime scene with a series of clues that we gave them, some of which included these scooters and a character, a sort of artificial intelligence character called Amy as well. And so that was the original plan, but unfortunately, because the restrictions weren't lifted in time, we had to switch to making a performance in church. Then some of the cast got pinged. In fact, one of them had coronavirus. So we suddenly realised we weren't going to be able to perform as we'd hoped. And we did an open reading rehearsal style, so that we still got the opportunity to trial it. But obviously we weren't able to perform it as originally planned. But we did a quick turnaround in 2 weeks. And I think, considering that, it went really well.
For sure. Well, I enjoyed it. So. Cool. And I guess in a way this leads us on to talking about Hybrid Festival. In fact, what I was going to ask was what's next for Roundabout. And I believe that there's a Roundabout performance at Hybrid Festival, isn't there?
Yep, that's correct. So on the 12th of August, we're going to be performing a piece called Under Gom's Wood, which is based on Under Milkwood by Dylan Thomas, but we've set it in a fictional place called Under Gom's Wood, which is loosely based again on Wycombe and the Wycombe area. And so we've taken the structure, a loose structure of Under Milkwood, and we've got a few different characters in there that we've sort of developed, things like Charlie Chairboys and trying to remember the names of some of the other ones, but Stella, Starbucks, and some other things, but different characters that we've then kind of created little monologues or little scenes around. So that's going to be performed on the 12th, alongside Kayla Wallace, who's an American, who's come over from New Jersey, who's going to be performing some dance work, and also Signdance Collective, who are going to be doing some sort of showing of their Oriente Plus performance as well.
Cool, and I like that as well. So that's another example of Roundabout doing things that are very they're very Wycombe in feel, and also again talking about retellings. It's a loose retelling, which again, best kind of retellings in my opinion. So
Yes.
Looking forward to that one. Cool, and could you tell us a little bit about Hybrid Festival in general? Because I know you've done a lot of work on the organisation side as well.
Yeah, sure. So the Hybrid Festival is co-produced between Signdance Collective, who are the dance company in residence at Wycombe Arts Centre and Wycombe Arts Centre. It's got, so Signdance are an Arts Council England funded company, and the Arts Council have funded them to do some research and development on a new show called Oriente Plus, which is very much based around the Caribbean diaspora, and is about sort of around family ties, and what happens when the family kind of moves or is moved across sort of internationally across the world. And so that's the sort of themes. So the Hybrid Festival idea came out of the idea of this development of this particular piece of work, and how to involve community voices and different communities of the diaspora around the UK and internationally. So the idea of carnival is quite a strong one that comes out from that particular part of the world, the Caribbean islands. And so the idea of festival and carnival sort of started to evolve from there, really. So there's lots of events going on. There's some workshops, there's some performances, there's also some like individual commissions that are being created. So the Arts Council, one of the things that Signdance Collective are very good at is helping develop different artists' work. They do work very collaboratively, and they are very much a collective in that sense. So they have done 3 special commissions for a dancer, an artist, a visual artist, and filmmaker as well. So there will be some really original work happening during that time.
You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. I'm here in conversation with Soobie Whitfield, and this is Straight 8 with their version of My Girl.
I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. I guess you say, what can make me feel this way, my girl? I'm talking about my girl. I've got so much honey, the bees in me.
That was Straight 8 with My Girl. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and I'm here in conversation with this week's guest, who is Soobie Whitfield. Over to Soobie.
You mentioned, obviously, Kaylee Wallace is involved in that, and I'm going to chat to her on the show next week as well. And actually, it'll be sort of in progress by the time that people listen to this, because it's pretty close now. So how are you feeling now that we're, what are we? Is it 6 days to go now?
6, yeah, something like 6 weeks away or something. So cool. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it's all going to come together. Slightly panicked, but yeah, I'm just really hoping that people are going to come along and get the chance to experience lots of different sorts of work and some creative opportunities for people to join in with. I mean, this is quite a unique opportunity because it's giving people the chance to actually be involved in the creation of a new show and a new piece of work. There will be workshops, there will be open rehearsals that people can get involved in and actually help to form what this show goes on to be eventually. Yeah. So that is quite a unique opportunity for people. And even if you've never experienced anything like that, I think I'd encourage people to come along and try that out and have an opportunity to sort of respond to the work and say what they like and don't like, etc. Yeah,
that's it, and to get involved, And I'm not sure if I had this on my list of questions I pre-sent over to you, but because it's something that I find quite interesting, especially in our COVID era and whatnot. How do you think how do the arts kind of function in society post-COVID? How important is it for there to be things like Roundabout creative theatre and things like open rehearsals where anyone can come and get involved?
Yeah, I think personally I would say the arts are just so important in helping with health, mental health, and also just community and neighbourhood health, kind of relationships as well. I actually wrote my dissertation on this when I did my master's on what I would hope theatre might become post-COVID, and how I really hoped it would become more democratic, that there'd be greater opportunities for a wider demographic of people to be involved in theatre, whether that's there's all sorts of barriers that people experience, whether that's physical barriers, whether it's economic barriers, or whether it's the sort of barriers that they've never stepped inside a theatre and it's all very such a strange world, and I think there's been a lot during COVID, people doing things on the street and various digital performances and various other things that hopefully has begun to break some of those barriers down for people. Another thing that I studied a lot actually on my course last year was the interaction between health and well-being and the arts and creativity, and just I'm a great believer in that as well, really. And coming out of education, I've been a teacher for a long time as well, and you can see the way that the arts gives the opportunity for people to grow in confidence, but also just doing something creatively and in a team with other people is a very bonding experience. So I think it's all very I would like to. I hope that the arts will be considered in that way as a very healing and wholesome opportunity post-COVID.
Well, I like the way you put it as well, because obviously during COVID we've all been encouraged to maintain a lot of social distancing, and as you say, you did things with Roundabout, for example, where you were still meeting online, but it's just nice for people to be able to gather in a physical space again and to be together as a community, and I think it sounds like that's what Hybrid Festival will hopefully achieve as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of our aims.
Cool. So just a few more questions, really. Actually, could you let us know a little bit about you're running a workshop, aren't you? Could you let us know about the workshop that you're going to be running?
Yeah, so Kayla and I are going to be running a workshop, a couple of workshops. So they are going to be, again, they're going to be quite creative in their format. So they will be responding to a stimulus. So we're not going to be there sort of teaching you necessarily how to dance or how to write something or whatever, but actually giving people the opportunity to explore the idea of being on an island, or to explore something that someone else has said about be living on an island or an island experience, or possibly to pick one of the pictures that are going to be in the art exhibition and use that as an idea, and then just come up and create something with that, whether that's a poem, whether that's a piece of movement or something. And we will be there facilitating that and helping people. And, you know, families, everyone's sort of welcome to come along and experience and have a go at creating something.
Awesome. Cool. And so I heard from Issel earlier, so from Signdance Collective, I think she's going to be providing like sign language interpretations during a lot of the shows as well. And obviously, I think even with Roundabout Creative Theatre, you know, you've kind of gone out your way there to be inclusive as well. Obviously, you know, while still maintaining that sort of regional group, you know, the regional group feel. But you know, how important is it for yourself and for Signdance and for the hybrid team to make it as a diverse but inclusive, you know, festival?
Yeah, it's highly important to make sure that, well, not just hybrid, but just generally, I think for me, that the arts are inclusive for everybody. And we're going to be welcoming some people from Shed over in Cheshire. They're going to be coming over and joining in one of the open rehearsals sessions. And as you say, you know, trying to think and make sure that the art is accessible as possible to people. So whether that is accessibility through making sure that there are things in place for people who may be using a wheelchair, or whether that is, you know, using sign language or subtitles or something else to make sure that it's accessible to people who perhaps have hearing loss or are deaf. So you know, it's really important to us that we make sure the art is accessible to all.
And I mean, as well, I was going to say, you know, most of it's free entry, apart from I think one or two of the workshops, which are really like a very nominal fee and whatnot. So again, like it kind of breaks those economic barriers and stuff. But it kind of comes back to what you were saying about your dissertation of what you want to see in the future of theatre. You know, so I guess in a way you're trying to almost lead by example and say this is what it should look like. You know, everybody's welcome.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we won't always get it right, and that's the other thing. I think particularly in Roundabout, we've said to people, please tell us where we get it wrong. Please tell us, you know, what is the barrier for you, you know, so that we can try as much as we can to overcome that, because you know, people don't get it right all the time, and you know, so that's important to us as well, to know where we're not getting it right.
Cool. Okay, so just a couple of questions to end on. One of them I wanted to know, and I guess it's probably too early to know this, but are there any plans to make Hybrid Festival an annual festival, or is it definitely a one-off, or are you going to see how it goes?
I think it was conceived as a one-off, so but I don't know. I guess that will be something, a conversation to develop with the Arts Centre, possibly, and maybe it's something that will be a one-off with Signdance, but possibly you know, be something that the Arts Centre want to consider doing, or it might be that it's something that we continue to collaborate on.
And I suppose as well, because you've kind of got the theme this year, it could have a different theme and even a different name, and so there's sort of a lot of potential there as well. So I suppose we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And the question I normally end on for everyone is, you know, what's next for you, and where can people go to find out more? So,
sure.
I mean, you wear many hats, so you can choose how best to answer that one.
Okay, so I'll answer it from Signdance's perspective. So Signdance are doing a tour. They will be going off on tour in the UK. So they will be taking their performance of In Between Spaces to Oxford Playhouse, to Brighton Open Air Theatre, to Birmingham, and there's somewhere else which I know I've forgotten. They're also doing some work with the Theatre Clwyd and Deaf Warriors up in Newcastle as well. So they've got quite a lot of different kind of tours and dates coming up. So if anyone knows anyone in those areas and wants to send them along, that would be great to see them there. So that's and hopefully with Roundabout Creative Theatre we might be able to resurrect the master plan and perhaps perform it in the way we originally intended to do it, so at some point in the autumn.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to Soobie for joining me. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Caitlin McAvoy with Fall Apart.
Oh, some days I wonder if things I do matter to you. Feels like all their eyes are watching me. Can't guarantee that I'll be free. Oh, every thought that I hear just builds a fear. I need you here. Feels like there's no hope for my mind. Why can't I find a new design? Oh, my heart, it pounds. Sounds getting louder, heart getting faster. Makes me calmer. I am running out of breath, I am running through the dark. No light at the end of the storm. I'm following my heart before I fall apart. I fall apart. Oh, tomorrow is a new day. I'll find a way, I'll be okay. Oh, I am strong, the thoughts will pass. I'll take the chance, take off my mask. Oh, my heart, it pounds. Sounds getting louder, heart getting faster. Makes me calmer. Oh, I'm running out of breath, I am running through the dark. No light at the end of the storm. I'm following my heart before I fall apart. I fall apart. Oh, why can't I see the signs that I'm running out of time? No light at the end of the dark. Why am I following my heart? I'm still falling all apart. I fall apart. Oh, I'm running out of breath. I am running through the dark. No light at the end of the storm. I'm following my heart before I fall apart. I fall apart. Oh, I am running out of breath. I am running through the dark. No light at the end of the storm. I am following my heart before I fall apart. I fall apart. Oh.
A moistened mattress from a fever dream. Unbridled panic, your dirty drama queen. A blood-red sunrise reflects off an old guitar. You can run all you want to, but you won't get far. A tortured poet, creative cocaine fiend, who runs his yellowed fingers through 90s magazines. His tinted glasses disguise his absent gaze. There's no sense in rushing, he'll be the days. Prepare the pipes and we'll be fine. Numb in body and numb in mind. In your mind, in your mind. Prepare the pipes and we'll be fine. Numb in body and numb in mind. In your mind, in your mind. Finally balanced by spoiled surprise. No, she can't be trusted, those shifty angel eyes. A backstreet banger or a future queen. To those dirtied masses, once washed but never clean. The eyes are rolling as you rot inside. No, I can't console you, but I'm by your side. You never listened to your own advice. If it nearly kills you, well then don't try it twice. Prepare the pipes and we'll be fine. Numb in body and numb in mind. In your mind, in your mind. Prepare the pipes and we'll be fine. Numb in body and numb in mind. In your mind, in your mind. You're chemically owned. You can't sit up on your own. You can barely raise your head. You're a sucker for the pie. At least you were tonight. Prepare the pie, turn out the light, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Prepare the pie, turn out the light, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Prepare the pipes, turn out the lights, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Prepare the pipes, turn out the lights, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Prepare the pipes, turn out the lights, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Prepare the pipes, turn out the lights, just for tonight, caught
That was Robert Honor with Prepare the Pipes. Before that we had Caitlin McAvoy with Fall Apart. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. I'm your host Dane Cobain. And it's time for this week's album review, so we're going to head over to the Ilkshed and catch up with Twangling Jack Ford. Over to Twangling Jack.
Prince, Batman. I could have chosen any number of Prince albums, however I now find his 80s output sounds very 80s, and I'd expected Prince to sound somehow more timeless. In the very late 80s, a new superhero movie was something to get excited over, especially when it starred Jack Nicholson as the Joker and featured music by Prince. The music still has a few of the 80s traits that I dislike, like drums that sound like amplified Rice Krispies. Synthesizers had moved on from the harsh warbly sounds to the bell-like tones that were more popular in the 90s. Prince plays that funky guitar with the sharp, bright tone you would find on a James Brown record, rather than the rather flangey washing machine on spin cycle sound of the times. There are the kind of songs you expect from a decent Prince album, but there are two standout moments. The song Arms of Orion, a duet with Sheena Easton, is a brilliant slow ballad, and the song Bat Dance is a masterpiece of audio collage. It takes samples of dialogue from the film, it bombards you with sampled sounds, it has heavy distorted guitar solos, it has a vocal chorus of the word Batman that recalls the super camp 1960s version, with no concern to confusing different comic universes. And Jack Nicholson's Joker asks, "Did you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?" Batman, Prince.
Big thank you to Twangly Jack Ford for this week's album review. As always, my name is Dane Cobain. You've been listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. With the weekly art show, we're on every Tuesday at 7 PM. You can also catch us again on Monday nights on Wycombe Sound, or you can listen again on the Listen Again on Wycombe Sound website, on Spotify, iTunes, all of that good stuff. You can email me here at the studio if you want to get in touch, dane.cobain@wycombesound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wycombesound.org.uk. And I particularly want to hear from poets, musicians, local creatives, that sort of thing. You can also find us on Facebook if you search for The Art Show on Wycombe Sound. So I'm going to leave you with one last tune until next week, and this is from a previous guest on the show. This is from France Ello. This is Carrick Fergus. I'll see you next week.